What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy, Storyseller Jet, here today with another episode of That's So Fire podcast. And today we have the disruptive techpreneur, Brian Sallee, in the studio with us. Hey, Brian, super excited to have you here today at the podcast today. Let's get started. Let's share with the viewers a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background and the many successes that you've had.
Hey, I'm stoked to be here. Thanks for having me. This is fun. Well, going way back, I was born at a very early age in Haiti. And I don't know if you know where Haiti is, but I was born and raised there. So.
Yep. I like to tell people that when the first originally met, which was 2017.
Yeah.
When you introduced yourself to me, you say, "Hey, I'm Brian. I'm from Haiti," and I was like, "No, you're not." So that was like a little bit of fun part. And you lived in Haiti for a long time too.
For a long time, yeah. Born and raised 9 years. So we left when I was 8, turning 9. So
yes. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, if you notice the super sexy accent that I have here, I was originally born in Haiti as well. So
yeah, I think there's more Creole spoken around here than English in the studio, just about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I like sharing that with people for a variety of reasons. One is I love, my childhood and I have fond memories of it. The other thing is it's kind of shaped who I am because I literally grew up without electricity and without running water and things like that. So, we're in such a tech-centric world these days, and I do a lot of technology. I know you do as well. But I think the way that, you and I were probably both raised absolutely impacts what we do today and how we have an appreciation for technology and the power of tech and video, right?
Absolutely. Talking about technology and specifically, you've started many, many different businesses. And I think one of them was ended up to being like number 4 in the NASDAQ. Can you talk about the different businesses that you run and that you're involved with?
Sure. Well, I have had a couple wins, couple failures. Actually, probably more failures than wins. I think it's how entrepreneurship goes. I got into technology, actually come back to the States, probably would have been like end of the 90s when the internet was starting to be prevalent, and kind of got my hands dirty with, T1s and dial-up modems and all that kind of stuff. And I had the chance to learn technology, how it granularly works with the internet, video, things like that. And fast forward a little bit, I ended up starting what became a cloud computing company around 2007, 2008. And like many entrepreneurial stories, I got there as an accident, right? Just answering the need of a customer. Customers needed servers, they needed storage, they needed, data centers. And so I was employee number 1 for a managed services company, is what we called ourselves. We did everything for anybody. If you need help with your phone, to internet, to email, to video conferencing, like we did it all for technology. And within a couple of years, we really found a niche around accounting and sales software, specifically for Microsoft, and at a very high level of demand, for businesses that needed access to it all the time and it could not go down. And so we were lucky to get into the cloud computing boom as it was happening, and got a lot of backing from Microsoft and other big tech companies. And you're right, we grew via acquisition, and ultimately the end of the story is we went from, what I started originally. When I left that company, we were number 4 on the NASDAQ, and because HP ultimately turned around and bought us and had rebranded. So I was trying to be careful. Obviously, I was not CEO of HP by any means, but being on that journey was awesome. Learned a lot, had some wins, made a lot of mistakes, and that's really what I've been doing ever since then. Is helping other entrepreneurs learn from the successes and failures that I had along the way, and try to help figure out how to short circuit and grow businesses faster. Because I definitely learned a lot, and looking back at that journey, saw the difference that technology and marketing and things like that can make a difference in growing.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really awesome. So talking about that specifically, there is a story that you shared many, many times that I've heard you speak, talking about leverage. I think he was like powerful. Would you mind sharing that story and how that can help people propel their business forwards by using that terminology and that thought?
Sure. Well, I've now had one business that's in a private sale. One ended up, public via acquisition. I've had one that's IPO'd. So I've seen a couple of things. And what I looked at, Jed, is kind of going back to a timeless principle that was developed thousands of years ago around the 80-20 rule, or the power of leverage, which I think you're alluding to. And where it really hit home for me was being able to explain that even to my family and kids. And so what happened is I've got a garden tractor and was mowing my lawn, and we had a big stump removed in the yard. So it looked flat, pretty easy. And if you've ever driven a garden tractor, they go pretty close to the ground, right? So that's how you get a good grass mow. But if there's a soft spot in the yard, like mud, that gets into the mud pretty fast too. So I'm out there mowing, and it had been damp, and next thing you know, I've got this garden tractor with a 4-foot deck, completely stuck in the mud. And so my wife and kids came out, and they're, why is the lawnmower off? And what's daddy going to do? And, I'm like, I'm just going to move it up and pick it up and get it out of the mud. And, especially my kids are looking incredulous. I'm sure my wife probably was too, but she didn't say anything. And I cannot lift I don't even know what, 1,000+ pound mower at all. I certainly can't lift it out of the mud. So I went and grabbed a 2x4, and I grabbed a cinder block, and I was able to create a basic lever and a fulcrum. And then to have my kids help me, I could have my 4-year-old step on the end of the 2x4, and he, with whatever he weighed at the time, I don't know, 40 pounds or whatever, let's call it 40 pounds, was able to help me lift a 1,000+ pound mower straight up off the ground. And then I could throw rocks underneath it, or I think I had a little brick, and I threw a couple bricks underneath it. And I was able to drive the mower out of the mud, no problem. And that's kind of where I had that epiphany of how we as business owners can apply some very simple force multipliers or very simple lever to a business to help it grow faster and healthier without having to exert as much effort. And I think that's kind of the magic of leverage and applying that for business growth.
That's awesome. So, using leverage and using that lever terminology, obviously this podcast is about, marketing, sales, and business success. So what are some of the things that somebody can do to help their business? What's some leverage that they can use to help them grow faster?
I think it's different for every business owner, but most business owners can look at their business and they figure out what they're trying to accomplish and take a quick look at the 80-20 rule, which goes back to the Pareto principle, right? So 20% of what you and I did last week on our calendar statistically drove 80% of the results, right? 20% of typical customers create 80% of the revenue or 80% of the problem. So it's like this rough theory that seems to be true in the world, and I'll say in nature, but in life, right? The 80-20 rule. And there's a number of things that we can do. And certainly I think right now it's around video. Video is one of the coolest things that you can do that just drives a ton of leverage in marketing. And I think this is where we're having a chat a little bit earlier about marketing overall. We're at a really unique time in history where video can make a big difference on all kinds of social media and engagement platforms. And that's a great way that a lot of business owners can apply leverage and work smarter, not just harder.
Awesome. Yeah. So one of the things that I've seen and a lot of people are worried about is, how they can create content and how they can be consistent. And I think one thing that I've learned from you to 3 years, 4 years ago, is it takes about 90 days of consistency for your social media or whatever that you're doing to really take hold and start growing. But one of the biggest problem that they have is obviously consistency, and also to create the content to kind of help with that consistency. What are some ways in that they can utilize to be more prominent, or to be able to create more content to be able to post those videos?
Great question, because we're busy, right? Business owners are busy. We have so much going on. What some of the most successful content creators and business owners that I know and that I've seen do is really what's called batching content. So getting in the zone, getting in the environment, getting in the headspace, getting the content ideas right, and then spending anywhere from 20 to 60 minutes one day per month recording or creating content on the fly, or thought out, actually, not just, from an improv standpoint, and then using that batch of content to spread out over the month. Because from that standpoint, it becomes very doable, right? Like, almost anybody can sit down for 20 minutes and talk about what they love, what they know, how they help people, things like that. And then a month is a long time. But if you think about it, it's only 4 weeks on average, and there's roughly 5 work days in most weeks. So now you're down to 20 days, taking up 20 minutes of talking versus 20 days in a month. Next thing you know, you've got a unique 1-minute video, a unique 1-minute blog, a unique 1-minute, any type of content really, that you can post every single day. And it adds up, and it does not have to take a lot of time to create an entire month worth of content.
Awesome. So you talked about the thought out content. What are some ways that you can leverage AI to be able to, create those types of content, so you can spend that 20 minutes or hour to create new content?
AI is a great resource and a tool for people to lean on. I like using AI to create a framework that I can follow. Now, personally, I'm a believer in authentic content, and creating inauthentic content will quickly devalue. And I think there's a lot of other pro marketers out there that are talking about that would agree with me on that. So being authentic and representing your own company is important. But jumping into a free tool like ChatGPT, it's a quick way to say, hey, give me a bunch of ideas around this topic. Give me 20 bullet points. Give me 20 ideas that I can follow along this thought process, and use AI to kind of get the creative juices flowing, or to take the initial creative idea and put some framework to it that then I can talk around or speak to. And I see that working for a lot of content creators today. So open up ChatGPT, do a little bit of training. That's one of the things that people are may or may not be familiar with. But when you use ChatGPT, for example, you are essentially harnessing the entire universe of data. I'm generalizing. One of the first things you want to do is train the model to narrow the focus of what you're talking about. So do a little bit of training, make sure that ChatGPT knows what space you're in, what your persona is, who you're speaking to, and then give it a couple of ideas of what type of content you might be using, and then ask it for that framework that you can follow. And next thing you know, you've got a really symbiotic relationship between you as a business owner and the AI.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the things that I've been telling people too is obviously to go to ChatGPT, ask them, hey, I'm going to be talking about X, Y, and Z. Can you give me 10, 15 questions about that specific topics? And then once you go to that area that you are going to be recording your content, whether it's a studio like ours, or even like, in your office or at home, you can have somebody asking you those questions, and then you answering those questions back, and each of those can be their own separate videos.
Right.
So that's another really cool way to leverage AI to kind of, find those questions and be able to answer that back, and then creating like, short content. To your point earlier about Reels, or the monthly content, if you have like 20 questions that you're answering, that's already 20 videos that you can post every single day of the week to be able to fill up your calendar on social media.
Exactly. And I don't know if you hear this as well, but the number one objection that I hear from business owners who don't create content is something along the lines of, they don't have time. I don't have time. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And this approach just blows that objection out of the water, because the reality is everybody can talk for 20 minutes about what they do, what they know, what they're passionate about, and what they do professionally. And using this type of approach of batching content, I mean, it just blows that objection out of the water. And you know, especially if you come into a good studio, you can look like a rock star in not very much time.
Yeah. And more so than, you know, batching content, which is perfect as well. The other strategy is basically creating a podcast, like having different guests come and just like talk. And then by doing that, you can just like, you know, take snippets and be able to record those and be able to have that content to be able to post every single day of the month. Like a 20-minute podcast, you potentially could get like, I don't know, 10, 15 reels out of that. And those would be able to post on social media as well to, you know, get in front of your customers as well.
Absolutely. If you're stuck around ideas on creating good content, one thing I like to challenge people with and ask myself is, think about the last happy, profitable, referenceable customer that you had, and just talk to them. Just let that last customer that you serviced, sold the product to, whatever it is that you do, just talk directly to them and let that shape your persona, because ultimately you can help more people that fit that persona. And that's just a great way to break the ice, break the barrier. And what I love what you said about podcasting. Podcasting is a great way to have that type of persona and just have a candid conversation. Hey, what's going on? Get feedback, get ideas, have a open conversation. And find people like that creativity, they like that authenticity, and they respond really well to it.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that you shared about, I think maybe like 3 years ago at one of those events that you were doing, was about content cluster. Can you share a little bit about that and how that can help, you know, people, you know, show up more on SEO or Google and all of that?
Sure. So there's a theory around content creation where you group the type of content into one section. So different marketers and different software and different theories use different words. I do like the word content cluster because I think it's self-representatory. I think other people might call it a content pillar. I don't think it matters what you actually call it. But think about the top 3 to 5 things that your business solves for, or that your persona needs help with, and then let that shape the content that you're creating and speak to the who, the what, the why, the when, the how around that particular topic. So another word that I like talking about is a head and shoulder strategy. So if you think about like a person, right? We have a head. So if the head is the ultimate thing that you can do, that's your ultimate persona.
Yeah.
Look for kind of like the shoulder content. Like, what are people solving for just around that? If people buy your product and it's a certain widget or a certain service, you can think about that as the head, then look for the shoulder type of things. If somebody needed that product or widget or service, what else might they be looking for if they don't know that that solution exists? And then if you apply that to your batching content and you apply that to video creation or to content creation, then it's a great way to drive organic and authoritative content.
That's awesome.
Along one track.
That's great. What are some of the key insights or strategies that you have where you can leverage technology to drive marketing?
We are at a really cool point with technology that it can help us do things a whole lot farther, faster. We can get farther faster, and we can do more with less. And so combining the timeless principles, I would call it, right? So using a fulcrum and a lever type of approach, thinking about the 80-20 rule. If you take that, you let AI drive the 20% part of the lever, right? Like let I be the force, if you will. Then next thing you know, you can be producing a lot of content and doing a lot of things very easily in a very systematic approach where you can do a lot quickly.
Awesome. So as part of one of your most recent presentation at Board of Advisors, it was all about AI and all this fun stuff. What are some of the tools that you see in AI today that you can use as relates to video, you can use to, propel your business forwards, whether it's like, this script or like all the other stuff? What are some of the tools in your tool belt to utilize videos to propel your marketing forward?
From like software, like
software AI tools that you can use that are video related to help you propel your business forward.
There's a lot of tools out there. I mean, there's probably thousands of ones that are out there. I don't know that I specifically would endorse or use. I test a lot of them. I think it really comes down to what you as a content creator need help with or where you get stuck. So if you need help with ideas and content creation, ChatGPT is probably one of the best right now, right? Because it's either free or very, very cheap to come up with that. Descript, you mentioned, is a great way to transcribe, to edit on the fly, and edit your videos and do some things very easily with that. There's a couple other software out there that I don't know that I would endorse any particular one of them that can help you create intros or outros, things of that specific nature. One of my favorites, if I can't make it into the studio, which obviously being in a studio makes a big difference, right? Lighting, sound, etc. But sometimes if I'm just on the go in the car, I've been curious, there's an app called Big View. And it's just a simple iPhone, I assume it's an Android app as well, where you can quickly type in a idea. Say, I want to create a video that's inspirational about how I help this customer. And it will, within a couple seconds, use its own AI to create a transcript of any length that you want, 30 or 60 seconds. And then it turns your iPhone into a teleprompter. And you hit record, and it'll actually record you looking at the phone with a mini teleprompter using AI to create the script. And then with one button, it will add your outro and intro to the video and add captions. So in under 2 minutes of processing time on the iPhone using AI and technology, I can come up with a on-the-fly video very easily. And again, you kind of get what you pay for, right? So you still want to have good lighting or good sound or things like that. But it kind of lowers the barrier for anybody to create content at some level and just get out of your comfort zone and be able to answer and speak to something that may be on your mind or something you just came across with in your business or your life.
Absolutely. And one other thing that I typically teach people or tell people to do too is not to necessarily just rely on the studios or the beautiful sets and all the stuff like that to create content, because that can be intimidating. But obviously it's important to kind of have those tools on your tool set, but is to utilize a strategy where you're producing content that are produced that are looking great, but also do those cell phone videos and stuff like that, utilizing both of them to continually post on social media and generating viewers. Because if you just too polished, that may kind of not be as good. But if you kind of use them in combination, I think that is a winning strategy or combination.
That's a good point. I try to tell myself this all the time, that in a sense, I'm always wrong. And I try not to offend somebody that I'm coaching or encouraging, but I would politely and respectfully say this to most people is you're wrong. And what I mean is no matter how smart or innovative you are, chances are that you're not going to hit a home run on your idea, right? Like, maybe you will, but probably you're not, right? Your customer is probably going to use your app differently than you thought, right? Probably people are going to consume your content a little differently than you thought. You could create a website and it probably will format differently than you thought. So what I like doing is taking a minimum viable approach to marketing. Now, MVP or minimum viable product is very common in the software world, right? So if you're creating a software package, you would launch an MVP to see what it looks like. If you're an entrepreneur, a lot of times you're trying to get an MVP off the ground. I don't hear a lot of marketers talk about this, but I love talking about it, is to your point around iPhone videos or Android videos, use that little bit of a content creation, almost like a minimum viable product, and see what resonates. See what resonates with your audience, and it may not be what you think it would be. And a lot of people that I see wait to have the perfect podcast or wait to have the perfect TV show, they just never innovate and they never get it to happen. And you'll never hit perfection if you don't innovate. So record on your iPhone, like record on the fly. You don't have to publish it to a ton of people. Write stuff down, like jot ideas down and use that as your MVP in marketing. And next thing you know, in fact, you and I were just having a quick conversation in the green room that I mentioned that right now there's a particular topic that's resonating with a lot of business owners. It actually caught me off guard. That it's not something that necessarily resonates even with me, but I keep mentioning that topic. And next thing you know, everybody's like, wait a second, I want to know more about that. And if we as content creators and business owners listen to our audience, listen to marketing feedback like that, it actually gives us more ammunition, more juice and more ideas that then when you come into this gorgeous studio like this, congratulations, by the way, this is amazing what you have here. Now you've got proven content that you know is going to resonate with your audience, and you know that people are going to react to, they're going to like it, they're going to share it, and it'll make whatever you're doing so much more successful.
Yeah. And one of my goals for this studio is obviously to make it easy for people to show up, record their content, and like obviously we have the LED walls. The coolest part about that is the fact that you can change the background to pretty much wherever you want to be. So by coming here, we have, a bunch of 6K cameras that looks great, but also like, the ability to change your background and, get the best lighting to make it easier. And I was talking about like, a barrier of entry. Like the studio I'm hoping would be that ways to like completely remove that barrier of entry for them to just show up, be able to record and do all the stuff and be a thought leader on social media. So to your point a little bit earlier about the conversation that we had in the green room, it was about valuation.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about like, how marketing, for example, would play a big part in like, valuation, which is the big things right now?
Sure. Marketing has a big effect on valuation. At some point, every business owner will likely detach from their business. When I say detach, it could be positive or negative. It could be an exit of some type. It could be passing it down to the generation. It could be a retirement. Doesn't matter what it is. And when you walk away from your business or close it, you're walking away or exiting a brand that you've created. And I think one of the best things that every business owner can do is think now what brand they're developing for their business, what marketing can go into that business. Because if you set aside the profitability of a company for a minute, you set aside contracts or how many trucks or land or whatever it is that you have, there is I'll use the word intrinsic value, but it's much more than intrinsic in the brand and the marketing of the company that you've created. And I love thinking about marketing and video just to focus on that particular part of it, right? When people think about your company, there's going to be an emotional and a logical feeling that they're going to get, whether you are selling a product or providing a service, right? And I think that's one of the best things that we can do. Use marketing to push and increase the value of your business, and that everything else will have a lift as well for the valuation of your business. But your business is valued at some level just simply on your brand. It might be $1, it might be $1 billion, but there is value created by the marketing that you've put around your company.
So talking about branding, where does branding fit in the growth of your business?
I think branding is kind of like the cornerstone of every business. It's the basis in the foundation, because really good branding should drive what you do with marketing, and then marketing affects sales. If you do really good marketing, you don't really even need sales. And if you do really good branding, you barely need marketing. And a lot of people don't realize that one of the biggest open secrets of marketing is just simply being talkable, being interesting, being attractive to what it is that you do, right? That's what a lot of us are trying to do when we run an ad or we create content, is we're trying to just be talkable, just let people know that we're here and here's what we're doing and here's why you should use us or come see us or buy from us or whatever it is. And all that rests on top of the cornerstone of branding.
Awesome. So with the big shift in technology and increase in AI and all of that, where do you envision AI or sales and marketing to be headed in the future?
Sales and marketing are just naturally incorporating the evolution of AI. So I think there's two parts that are important for every content creator to understand. One is the timeless side of it, which is good theory and a strong approach to marketing should not change over time, right? You still have to answer the compelling message of who you are, where you fit in, you're solving a problem, that type of a thing. AI is the newest trend. Obviously, it's more than just a trend, but it should fall in line with your overall strategy for how you're moving your business forward. And where I see AI going in marketing is it's just becoming naturally incorporated to where it's becoming less of a feature and more of just a core component of what you do with marketing. I think AI is going to be naturally included in marketing more and more in the coming months and years.
Awesome. So one other thing that you talk a lot about, and obviously that's your tagline, to add a zero to your number. How do you do that? First part of the question, and how can you use marketing to add a zero to your bottom line?
Adding a zero to your revenue. That's what we all want, or many of us want, right? Well, I like the simplicity of adding a zero because it's essentially skipping a comma, right? So going from, 6 figures to 7 to 8. Now, I like that terminology because number one is I had to figure out how to explain it to my 4, 5, 6-year-old. By the way, quick tangent, we're talking about AI and ChatGPT. One of my favorite tricks is to take something that I'm doing and then ask ChatGPT to reword it at a 1st grade reading level or a 3rd grade reading level. And it's amazingly inspirational how you can take a complex idea and make it really easy for somebody to understand.
That's a great idea. Yeah, that's a great
side trick.
Yeah, perfect.
So I like talking to business owners about adding a zero to their revenue, because going from, pick a number, 2 to 2.1 million or 2 to 3 million, categorically, you just need to do a better job of what you're doing today, right? If you're doing 12 million, you're trying to get to 13 million, you just need to do a little bit more of what you're currently doing in general, right? I'm generalizing. But to go from, let's say, 5 million in revenue to 50 million in revenue, either is going to take a tremendous amount of time, like, I don't know, 10, 20 years, or you have to make some huge difference in your business. That, to me, is where leverage comes in. That's where AI comes in. That's where good marketing comes in. To go from 5 to 50 million in a much shorter amount of time. If you want to compress time, you have to be disruptive. You have to do something different. And as a category, two of the fastest things that any business can do is either leveraging technology or leveraging marketing to get there faster. It doesn't necessarily apply 100% of the time, but the Pareto principle, I would say, applies 80% of the time. From a technology standpoint, you can do an app, software, AI, things like that, right? But marketing is one of the biggest things that you can do. If you're trying to grow from 1 to 10 million and add that zero to your revenue, you're going from 10 to 100 million. Thinking differently about your marketing or shifting up your marketing strategy is one of the fastest way that you can compress time and accelerate your business forward. So adding in video, or if you're doing direct sales, add in indirect sales and do indirect marketing in addition. Letting marketing augment or change how you're getting revenue in the door is one of the fastest way that you can move your business forward if you have a healthy business that is producing a profitable product and helping your customers with your widget or product or service.
Awesome. I have one more question for you. So the viewers now watching, how they can get a hold of you and what are some of the things that you can help them with their business?
Well, the best way to contact me on all my social medias is my personal website, www.brians360.com. From there, you can see any project I'm working on. All of my social media handles is at brians360.com. And especially because of YouTube and AI and things like that, there's so much content out there that we're actually finding success with Averett as a growth agency, just providing a lot of value up front for people. So we produce a fair amount of content. We produce a fair amount of tools that almost any business owner can start to incorporate in their business, from starting or boosting valuation. If you feel stuck around how to add a zero to your revenue, if you don't think that's possible, we've got tools that'll help you kind of change your mindset or give you some ideas on how to fast forward your company, how to compress time. And that's a great way that can make a difference for any business, regardless of size, regardless of industry, regardless of language, or even what part of the world that you're in, just to shake things up a little bit and grow further, faster.
And one of those tools too, and I want you to talk about that a little bit, is the Master Planning Day. And that's one things that people can basically get you to work with them and basically having a whole master plan about marketing, sales, and all the other aspects. So why don't you talk about master planning and what you have to offer there for people watching?
Master planning is something that every business owner and leader should do, in my professional opinion. And anytime I've had success or seen success, it's been associated with creating and sticking to a master plan. Otherwise, we as entrepreneurs are just fighting fires and getting distracted, right? So one thing we do with Averett is we bring people in, we meet with business owners, and we, on one hand, apply a powerful, timeless framework that incorporates leverage, but also some things that I've come up with over the years that really help businesses fast forward quicker. And we take that specific framework and then we adapt that and we create what we call a unique blueprint for a specific business. And that blueprint is like a blueprint for a house that incorporates where a business owner wants to land. What do they want their house to look like when they're done? You know, what does an exit look like? What does 20 years look like? Are we creating a IPO? Are we creating a family legacy brand? Are we creating an acquisition? Are we creating a household name? In my opinion, there's no wrong answer because the entrepreneur is the one who's creating the vision, right? But that unique blueprint should look at that high level 20 plus year macro view and then put everything in perspective so that the business owner knows what to do today. They know what to do this week. They know what to do this month. And they've got the tactical approach. So combining that framework that can help a business compress time, fast forward their company, combine that with that master planning unique blueprint is one of the best ways that any business can grow quicker and stay healthy.
Absolutely. So there you have it. You heard it. So if this is something that sounds very interesting to you and that you want to leverage, definitely, check, Brian's website, Averett.com, or just go to BrianSallee360.com. Correct?
BrianS360.
BrianS360.com. So there you have it. So thank you again for tuning in for this episode of That's So Fire. And I hope that you had a lot of really smoking hot takes of sales, marketing, and business success today. So again, thanks again for tuning in. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and see you in the next episode. Let's go. Awesome.
Thanks, Jet.